my name is Wolves and welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're here with a talking video. I am going to be talking to you guys about two stories because these stories are kind of short, so instead of doing them separate videos, I am putting them together. So here we are with two videos. The first one that we're going to be talking about is the big B that I had for a teacher when I was in high school. Yeah, so I had a teacher that I did not like very much when I was in high school. I had great teachers all through my childhood, all the way up until high school. And then I got this one teacher that I did not like at all, and like multiple people did not like her at all. And she was the worst teacher, and everyone in that class could agree to this, except for this one girl who was kind of a kiss ass and would always be like, oh, you look so pretty today, and kiss her ass pretty much and whatnot. And we're like, girl, stop. Anyways, so she said that she was pretty. She was not pretty. Our teacher was not pretty at all. She was actually very old. She had gray hair, and she had like, I don't know if she was had a problem with her eyes or what was going on with her eyes, but her eyes popped out of her head pretty much, and we kind of made a name for her, which now that I look back on it, I'm like, eh. But we used to call her Bug Eye because her eyes were popping out of her head so much that it looked like kind of bug eyes. Do not call your teachers names, no matter how mean they are or how much you hate them. Do not call them names. We didn't call her bug eyes to her face, obviously. We did it behind her back, but that's still kind of like bad, and I think she might have heard us one time calling her that name. Your words hurt, they cut deep, so do not call people names or like say hurtful things. Like, but now that I'm looking back at it, yes, I do not like her, it's like that, but I kind of wish that I didn't do that. But you're young and you're still learning, I get that, but like, your words can cut deep. Looking back on it, I kind of feel bad about calling her those names. Yes, I do not like her, but that doesn't give me the right to call her a name. I was in special needs class. Like, I was in special needs class, so it was me and these other kids that had more special needs than I. Like, I had a reading disability, and I couldn't, like, understand math, and some other stuff was going on with me, and so I was in that class due to that. And but we had other kids in the class that had way more special needs than I. Like, they were in a wheelchair and couldn't talk or anything like that. They had to use like these monitors to talk and stuff like that. I've been in special needs class since I was young, all the way up until high school, and then in high school I actually got into what we call normal classes. But even though I was in normal classes, they weren't technically normal classes because I still had like this teacher that followed me around and helped me with certain stuff. Anyway, so I was in special needs classes like all through my childhood, and I never had a problem with my teachers, never. And then I got up into high school, and it was the worst. Like, I loved it because we got to do cooking and stuff like that. Like, they try to make it kind of as normal as possible. I always do normal because, like, what do you consider normal, you know? So that's why I'm like, normal. So everything that you needed to learn would be in this one classroom, so you wouldn't have to go out and socialize with other people. And I normally had the same group of kids every year in our class. So every time I went up to a new, like, say I was in like 6th grade, then I went up to 7th grade, and then in 7th grade I will have the same kids from 6th to 7th, and from 7th to 8th to 8th to 9th to so on and so forth. You get it, right? So you would just have these same kids every year, so you never like socialize with any other kids other than the kids from your special needs class. She slammed us with so much homework, and I mean so much homework, like big stacks of freaking homework, and she expected you to get it done within a freaking night. Now, we get home, we get out at 3 o'clock, like in the past. I think it might have changed now. Maybe it's 2 you get out now. But I think when I was going, it was 3 o'clock we got out. And then we had to go home, we had to go through like the whole bus ride home, and then when we got home, it was like 5 o'clock or something, 5 or 6 o'clock. Then you had to have dinner. Then after dinner, you had to like do other stuff around the house. Then on top of that, you had to do this big stack of freaking homework that this teacher wanted you to do within a freaking night. And I'm like, excuse me? We cannot do a stack of freaking homework within a freaking night. Like, it was like impossible. And she expected you to do it. And if you didn't, you got in trouble. And it was just ridiculous. And I was like stressed to the freaking max because I had a lot of stuff going on at home besides school. So I had a lot of stress at home, and then I had a lot of stress at school. So it was just a lot of stress, and it was just piling up on me. And then one day I just exploded, pretty much. I had a panic attack in class, and I don't even think this teacher knew what a freaking panic attack was, because she acted like I was going fucking crazy, and she's like, hey, you need to stop this. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm having a fucking panic attack and you're telling me to fucking stop. I cannot stop a fucking panic attack. Broke down, crying, having like this big panic attack, and she was acting like it wasn't a big freaking thing, and all this, like, it was just the worst. And finally, I got my panic attack to freaking, like, subside. And by the time I subsided my panic attack, I had been thrown out of the classroom and put into, detention for lunch detention. I was sitting in lunch detention, kind of, like, trying so hard not to cry because there's other kids in there that I do not know. And I'm like, I don't want them to see me crying, so I'm just sitting there scribbling on a notepad and trying to, like, murder this notepad pretty much because I wanted to murder the fucking teacher. And then they sent me to a counselor to talk to the counselor, and then the counselor didn't even help. She's like, it's normal. I was like, she was trying to regularize it. I was like, she was trying, I don't know how to say it. Just thinking about it makes me freaking frustrated, just thinking about it. So she was just, she helped, but she didn't help. Like, she did not understand my side, I feel like. And then one day we had a meeting with my mom, her, and my principal, and some other people. This, like, it was just a big room full of people. And we talked about what was going on in the classroom, what we didn't like, all this like that, and how she threw a big stack of paper at us and expect us to do it within a night. Somebody brought it up to mine and my mom's attention, thank God, saying that I can actually get out of that class if I worked hard enough, because I almost can get out of that class. And I was just like, yes, sign me up, I am ready to get out of her class. So I worked my ass off, and I got out of that class and got into normal classes. Even though I was out of that classroom, I still had somebody there to help me. She helped keep me in track of what I needed to get done and homework and stuff like that. And I even had, like, what they called homeroom. And when I went to the homeroom, me and the teacher that went around with me to my classes sat down and we did all my homework right then and there. And normally I only had like three things of homework. And the funny thing is that teacher told me, oh, if you get out into the normal classes, you would end up with the same amount of homework that you were getting there. No, boo-boo, no. Because when I got out of that class and got into normal classes, I only had 2 to 3 pages of homework, not stacks of freaking homework that she was throwing at us. It was so more stress I was like so grateful to get out of that class. I'm like, I'm so glad that I worked my ass off to get out of that class and into normal classes, because like it took such a weight off my shoulders, and for the rest of the time that I was in high school, I enjoyed it. But for those, I think it was 2 years or 3 years that I was in her class, I legitly was about to murder someone, but luckily I didn't. I felt so bad for the students that were left in her class, because like it was a freaking nightmare. There you go. I had a teacher that I did not like, and I got out of her class because I worked my butt off to get into what they consider normal classes. The second thing I want to talk to you guys about is I grew up in kind of like I don't know if is it considered the lower class, or I don't know. I grew up with not very much money. Let's just say that. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, but we did have money and we did pay our bills and so on and so forth. But because of us growing up with with a little bit of money, not a lot, I missed out on a few things that I really wanted to do when I was in school. We had bills to pay, I know that, so I can't really, I'm not like mad at my parents or anything like that, because they did what they had to do to support us and stuff like that, but I really wanted to do so much, and of course we couldn't due to having little to no money. But the first thing that I missed out on was the trip to New York City. I really wanted to go to New York City. This was around the time that the Twin Towers were still standing. Oh yeah, and on top of that, my parents had a lot of medical bills to pay, because I stacked up a lot of medical bills due to me going into the hospital with my transverse myelitis, so they had to pay medical bills plus all the other bills that were on top of them. But anyway, so we were supposed to go to New York one year, and I think it was in middle school, and I really wanted to go, but couldn't because we didn't have the money to go on the trip, which I was super sad. Wait, was the Twin Towers still around, or was it before? No, okay. I was just thinking, the Twin Towers went down when I was young, like super young, like 4 years old, 5 years old, so the Twin Towers weren't there. Why did I think that the Twin Towers were still there? I don't know, but I don't know. Sorry, I'm mixing up all my years and stuff like that. But anyway, so we had a New York trip. I missed out because we didn't have no money, and I was super sad about it. But later on down the road, me and my mom took a New York trip down to New York, obviously. So yeah, I'm gonna make a separate video talking about the New York trip. I kind of already did kind of a vlog about it, but yeah, I'll do a completely different video about the whole New York trip thing with me and my mom, because that shit was fucking crazy. And I went to New York with my mom, and then I went again a second time with my college, which I'll tell you guys that story probably in the New York one, where I talk about when I went with my mom. But anyway, so a separate video for that. The second thing that I missed out because of no money was we were supposed to go sleep in a museum. Like, who doesn't want to go sleep in a freaking museum? Like, it was the freaking best thing, and I was so excited about it, and then I couldn't go because we didn't have the money to go. And I was like so sad, and I was like so young. I'm pretty sure I was really young at the time. But yeah, we were supposed to sign a paper and have like some odd kind of, I don't know how much it was for it, but we had to get our parents' permission, obviously, and then get the money to go and sleep in a museum. And I was like so excited about it, but couldn't go because no money. So that's another thing I missed out on, is sleeping in a museum. But like, who wouldn't want to go sleep in a museum? Like, that sounds like the best freaking thing. And the third and I think the final thing that I can remember is that I missed out on was Hershey's Park. I want to go to Hershey's Park so freaking bad. Yeah, those are the three things I missed out on: Hershey Park, New York City, and sleeping in a museum. And it sucked because all my friends went, and then when the next day or the day at the weekend after everything was said and done, and I hung out with my friends, that's all they were talking about was, oh, the New York trip, or the museum, or the Hershey Parks, and I'm like, I missed out, and I was just so sad. I did have some friends that like didn't talk about it because they knew how upset I would, but then I had some friends that didn't give a shit and they would talk about the trip, and I'll be like, I wanted to go. Yeah, so there you guys have it. The biatch that I had as a teacher, and the things that I missed out on due to having no money to do it. But like I said, I love my parents very much, and I know that they tried their, I think my parents did try their best to save up the money so I could go, but when you have to pay bills and stuff like that, I understand, because now that I'm an adult and I have to pay the bills, I understand now, like, what the struggle is. So I completely understand, and I do not hate them for me missing out on those two things. Now that I'm older, maybe I don't know how I'm gonna sleep in a museum, but maybe one day I'll go to the Hershey Parks thing. I don't know how I'm gonna do the sleep in the museum thing. Probably not going to do that, but I can go to a museum in the future. But I did go to my New York trip one, so there you go. So look out for that video. I will eventually do the whole story about me and my mom going to New York and how that trip turned out and all that stuff like that. And my other New York trip one that I took with my college. Yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Ring that bell if you want to see more videos from me. Subscribe if you want to. And I'll see you beautiful night wolves in the next video. Goodbye. Don't you know that